I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all members of the Council and officers in attendance at today's meeting. Welcome to members of the public and press who may be watching this meeting live on YouTube. I am Councillor Alan Glass, Chairman of the Council. I'll remind all participants that this meeting is being recorded and being broadcast live and will be available for repeated viewing. Please could all participants note the following procedures for the meeting I intend to follow as the Chairman, which have all been well circulated as the Council's grounds rules for virtual meetings. Please could all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking, which will reduce feedback and background noise. Please remember to unmute when you're invited to speak. Please switch any other devices such as mobile phones off or to silent setting during the duration of the meeting. Please only speak when invited to do so by me as Chairman, introducing yourself to the meeting if you have not been introduced by name. To indicate that you would like to speak, please type the message RTS, i.e. request to speak, using the Skype conversation facility and press the arrow button to send. Please only use this facility to indicate that you would like to speak, and note that all attendees can view messages sent via this facility. If there appears to be a consensus for recommendations or motions this evening, I will ask members to indicate if there is anyone against the proposal. If there are no further indications or requests to speak, I'll take this consensus of the Council as agreeing the recommendations or motions. If a formal vote is required on a particular item, I will call each member of the Council to vote in turn. Please express your vote verbally with for or against or abstain. A recorded vote will not be reflected in the minutes of the meeting unless this is requested in accordance with normal procedures. When voting, I ask that all members of the Council do so in the acknowledgement that they have heard the full debate and can therefore vote in accordance with government regulations. In the event of any technical problem, there will be a short adjournment to establish if the fault can be addressed. Please bear with us in these circumstances. If an individual loses connection and the meeting can practically continue with the quorum, it will do so. Apologies. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Christine Hopkins and Councillor Anne Sevier. Do we have any other apologies? No. I've just been informed that Joshua Kidd has apologised.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that Councillor Emma Lane is struggling to get into the meeting, so she gives her apologies if she can't get in.
Thank you. So, members of the Council in attendance will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Agenda item 1, minutes. Do any members have any matters to raise in respect of the accuracy of the minutes of the meeting held on the 7th of September 2020? Otherwise, I will take this consensus as agreement of the minutes for signing. I take that as agreement. Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest in connection with an agenda item for this meeting? There are none. Agenda item 3, Chairman's announcements. Members, I will in due course inform all councillors of the arrangements for marking Remembrance as your council chairman, appropriate to any restrictions that may be in place at the time. Agenda item 4, Leader's announcements. Leader, do you have any announcements?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Can I begin my announcements by passing on my and all our council's congratulations to my portfolio holder for local economy, Councillor Michael Harris, on his OBE announced this week in the Queen's Birthday Honours. The recognition is well deserved for all his work for comic relief. COVID-19. The pandemic continues to dominate all our lives, and it's no different in the council. At Cabinet, my portfolio holders updated us all on the role we are playing in supporting the government's new self-isolation regulations. This role is a simple one: to educate on the importance of the self-isolation, to support both our residents and those who are in need and business, and to encourage all to follow the guidance and regulations. I wish also to update members on the government's ask of us to support our towns and villages with what the Secretary of State calls COVID-19 secure marshals or equivalents. Their role will be to engage, explain and encourage best practice and the national COVID-19 secure guidance. The government has allocated us £71,278 to perform this role over the next 4 months. I've asked my portfolio holder for community affairs to consider how best we can support this initiative, which we can only have a short time to design. The portfolio holder has suggested that next week she would arrange for a community task and finish group meeting to be set up to enable her to share with the members her thoughts on the proposed ways forward. Recovery from the pandemic, we now all know and appreciate, is likely to be a long way off. From what I've already said, a lot of our day-to-day actions are still very much in response to COVID-19. I therefore thought it was worth updating members on our approach to the task and finish recovery groups we established most successfully. They were originally set up to report directly to the Cabinet, and this worked well in taking quick actions, particularly when we saw the need for the emergency budget to be set in September. As our response and recovery to COVID-19 are often intertwined, I think it would be right if they were in the future to report to our overview and scrutiny panel as part of their normal arrangements. I envisage both our local economy and community recovery task and finish groups continuing for some time, with our finance services areas reporting and updating to the overview panels in the normal way. I will continue chairing the ongoing task and finish recovery groups and will encourage, as before, all members to attend and get involved. The works to the coast at Milford continue to be affected by the adverse weather, and I hope members appreciate the efforts that are taking place both to protect the coast and limit the cost to our local taxpayers. I would like to thank both my portfolio holders for Environment and Finance for their efforts, and those in their teams for trying to minimise the impact on our community. I attended an employee forum recently made up of members of our staff and was pleased to hear that what they had to say both about the positiveness of home working and the desires of others to return to the office. It was good to listen to the differences of how people are coping during their working life in the pandemic, and how we're responding positively to ensure the working environment is a safe one for all our employees. I'm keen to engage with this and our staff in this way in the future. That's the end of my announcements, Chairman.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, Report of the Cabinet, Supplementary Agenda. We now move to the report of the Cabinet dated 7th of October 2020. Leader, would you like to move the adoption of this?
I'm pleased to do that, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Edward Heron, I understand you wish to second.
I do, Chairman.
Thank you. I'll now call each item of the report of the Cabinet dated 7th of October 2020 and ask that if any member wishes to speak, please note that these are recommendations for the Council at item 5 of the report in relation to the revised Statement of Community Involvement. I will pause at each item to see if any member wishes to speak. But if it may assist, if you indicate the item number in the conversation panel. Oh, sorry about getting tongue-tied. Conversation panel when you make your request. Item 1, response to coronavirus. Nothing. Item 2, local restrictions and support. Nothing. Item 3, Milford seawall update. Nothing. Item 4, status of supplementary planning documents. Nothing. Item 5, adoption of a revised statement of community involvement. This item has recommendations. Clear. Item 6, revised pre-application service. Okay. Item 7, planning for the future.
Chairman?
Yes. I see Councillor Harrison wishes to speak.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I'm broadly in agreement with the content of item 7 as it appears on the paper. But, of course, the government reforms don't do what they say on the tin. It talks about democracy, but it actually involves a watering down of our powers to have a say on what's fitting for our area. It also gives a green light for developers to build piecemeal, cheaply designed and built properties, often without the proper infrastructure in place. And once again, Chairman, the developers have lobbied government to find ways of avoiding building affordable homes, just the sort of homes that are most needed in the New Forest. So I'm in favour of what's being proposed here, and I know that the Liberal Democrat group are in favour. And I just wondered, as a gesture to the leader, whether we could make this a cross-party proposition to government and to our local MPs to show that the whole council is against.
That I would have to leave to the leader. Does Councillor Rickman care to comment on that point?
I think actually I'll carry on here the other speakers and answer it all at the end if you like. If that's okay, Councillor Harrison.
So my next is Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. I along with Councillor Harrison, agree with the approach that this authority is taking with this issue. This is clearly a way of taking planning decisions from local people, and the impact on the numbers of social housing and affordable housing that will not be built if this goes through is significant. But what I would like to suggest, Chairman, is that rather than just write to our 2 MPs, which I would support, perhaps we should write to the government ourselves with our view, and also when we write to our local MPs, encourage them to lobby more of their colleagues in Hampshire to support the stance that this authority, and I don't doubt many other authorities in this country, would take. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for your comments. The next one on the list is Councillor Maureen Holding. Yeah. Councillor, are you muted?
Am I there now?
You are now, yes.
Right. I would just like to say that there is an awful lot in this paper that needs to be looked at very carefully, because we have spent a lot of time looking at what is needed locally, and I'm afraid that this document has many flaws which really need to be right.
Thank you. Councillor Holding, you've gone on to mute again. Councillor Holding, you're back. We can hear you again now.
And I haven't touched it, sorry. And I just would say that I think that it's very important that local opinion is taken into consideration in looking at all these things, because after all, we know our own areas and the government doesn't. And this is speaking from a totally urban perspective in many ways.
Thank you very much. Councillor Edward Heron.
Chairman, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to welcome the comments from the previous speakers, and I think the offer from Councillor Harrison, unfortunately, had it been made at the Cabinet meeting when this was first suggested, this was first discussed, I'm sure we could have included it in our response. Perhaps he would like to write separately, and certainly perhaps he would like to write to those few MPs that are still in Parliament for the Liberal Democrats. Chairman, let's first of all be clear that there were two consultations. There was one on changes to the current planning system. That certainly had some issues in it that this council has made strong representations against. For example, increasing the number of affordable units required before affordable housing was required from the current 10 to 40 or 50, and also changes to the standard methodology, which actually didn't adversely impact our district as much as others, but certainly adversely impacted rural areas over the urban ones. Chairman, this report and this item deal with proposed changes to the future planning system, and there is some in that is to be welcomed. There is certainly issues around simplification of the planning system that reduces cost, and in reducing cost does then reduce the cost of homes to the end purchaser. But unfortunately, Chairman, and I think this sets out, I feel that there is more in these proposals to be of concern and to be welcomed. And as I have said, Chairman, this is a consultation. And I hope that our government, and certainly from indications from a number of backbench MPs, our MPs, will ask that this is looked at again. And that while many of the aspirations we may sign up to, actually what's being proposed doesn't deliver what the government are seeking. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rickman, would you now like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I actually don't have anything much to add, but agree with most things that have been said. Frankly, of course, tonight we are looking at this Cabinet paper, so I have nothing further to add to the process that's there. But pleased for everybody to engage as we go forward.
Thank you very much. And it was a very good discussion at Cabinet. Thank you. Okay. I've just got to take advice for a moment. Thank you. That's got over our slight glitch. Item 8, delegation of powers to officers. No. Members, the report and recommendation has been moved and seconded. Does any member wish to vote against? There is no indication, therefore I will take that as accepted. Thank you. Agenda item 6, questions under Standing Order 22. There are none. Agenda item 7, questions to portfolio holder under Standing Order 22A. We have 8. There are 8 questions. Members, I would remind you that standing orders allow for a maximum of 30 minutes in total for any questions. Any questions that fall outside the time limit will be dealt with in writing. Each question shall be put and answered without discussion. The portfolio holder will have a total of only 3 minutes to reply. I will invite each councillor who has asked a question if they have one supplementary question, which should be dealt with in a maximum of 2 minutes. Thank you. First question from Councillor Sue Benison to the portfolio holder for Housing Services, Jill Cleary.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is, with ever decreasing demands being placed on council resources, could the portfolio holder reassure councillors that all opportunities are being taken to apply for funding from central government to support the very good work of our housing department in helping provide more homes for local people, including the vulnerable in our communities?
Thank you. Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At a time of great uncertainty and when every penny counts, I'm pleased to report that our council has been successfully competing alongside many other housing authorities and registered providers to secure much sought after revenues and capital funding at national level. As part of the government's COVID-19 Emergency Accommodation Next Steps programme, the council has secured £250,000 to help house people at the risk of rough sleeping into longer-term sustained accommodation. I'm absolutely delighted at this funding, as it will embed the hard work and achievements of our housing officers to make a lasting and potentially lifetime difference for some of our most vulnerable citizens. Covering the costs of temporary accommodation through to the end of March 2021, this funding will not only give the necessary time to work with the remaining group of those at the risk of rough sleeping, it will also provide the financial help that is needed to secure long-term private rented accommodation, plus the support required to help new tenants sustain that accommodation. Changing tack to our own development plans, I'm very pleased that recent bids to Homes England for capital funding have secured £500,000 towards 13 brand new affordable homes to be delivered within our district. Developments that included are our first council homes for affordable rent and for shared ownership, as pledged in our housing strategy. A number of our emerging new build schemes have also been marked as potential bids for Homes England funding. So we are not looking at those outcomes in isolation. We are planning more for the future. But setting aside the sums of money involved, I'm also thrilled because these efforts and results help raise the national profile of New Forest District Council and strengthen our local leadership status. Going forward, I expect to see the housing team participate in other emerging arenas for national funding, whether it's for revenue, capital or grants to households, and I will be delighted to report back in due course. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cleary. The next question is from Councillor Hilary Brand to the portfolio holder for economic development, Councillor Michael Harris, OBE.
Thank you. Could the portfolio holder for business update us with what the government grant of £159,208 to support local high streets has been spent on so far? How much of the grant is left, and what plans are in place to continue to support the high streets over the autumn-winter period? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Brand, for your question. The Reopening the High Street grant is paid retrospectively, so the council reclaims from central government once expenditure has been incurred. The criteria for what the council can reclaim monies for is quite narrow. so some suggested initiatives that have come forward have not been eligible. Claims for reimbursement can only be made on a quarterly basis. To date, there has not been a reclaim to the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. There are a number of current initiatives that will be included in the next reclaim period, and these include the joint initiative with Go New Forest, and further initiatives are to be encouraged. As we are now moving into the autumn, we will be reviewing the current position and looking to ensure that there are further initiatives that are eligible for this funding stream. So I would encourage councillors to talk to their parish councils, and Hilary, I'm now involved with an organisation within Lyndhurst, so I'm very happy to talk to you about something we might try and do for Lyndhurst.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Could I just...
Brand, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please. I was just going to ask if it's possible to have some guidelines produced or what the money could be spent on if these aren't available already, that can be provided to the parish and town councils and district councillors. I've had a few conversations with our Lyndhurst Parish Council, and there is a bit of confusion around what we can get money for. So if there was some guidelines, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Michael Harris, could you advise on that? Or
Thank you, Chairman. There is a link on the New Forest District Council website to give information on this. I looked at it myself earlier this afternoon just to check it was there, and indeed it is. It links to a government site, and there's some information there. But let's look at it together, Hilary.
Thank you very much. Question 3. From Councillor Alex Wade to the portfolio holder for planning and infrastructure, Councillor Edward Heron. Councillor Wade.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good evening. Following on from several examples raised by residents to myself, would the portfolio holder consider reviewing the current New Forest District Council policy for not advising residents or businesses of a planning application directly opposite their property, especially considering that this point was also raised in the recent consultation over how it consults the community on planning applications? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Heron, could you come back on that?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Wade, for the question. The criteria for neighbour notification is set out in the Statement of Community Involvement, actually a policy that we have just adopted a refresh of. This is a minimum requirement, which, unlike many councils, includes both neighbour notification letters and displaying site notices. Planning officers will use their professional judgment to decide whether, on more complex applications, there is a need to notify and consult more widely, but this will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. I am satisfied that the current position is proportionate and consider that the council is providing a good service in sending out both letters and displaying the site notices on all applications. I will just add, Chairman, that in response to Councillor Wade's question, I did look through the consultation responses on the revised Statement of Community Involvement, and unfortunately there were no actual consultation responses on the issue that he's raised, and I'm surprised if residents raised it with him, he didn't put in a consultation response.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wade, do you have a supplementary?
No supplementary, just thank you, the portfolio holder, for the response. Thank you.
Thank you both very much indeed. Question 4 from Councillor Caroline Rackham to the portfolio holder for planning and infrastructure, Councillor Edward Heron.
Thank you. Could the portfolio holder please acknowledge that the move to charge for parking in Totton will have a detrimental impact on businesses in the town centre? These charges will also impact on workers at those businesses who may be on low wages, and it will be an added imposition for those needing to visit one of the 3 health centres and a community centre which specialises in activities for older people.
Councillor Heron.
Thank you, Chairman. The introduction of a new parking arrangements in the Civic Centre, Westfield Road and Windsor Road car parks in Totton will increase the availability of short stay spaces for the use of customers visiting local businesses. The Westfield Road car park will retain 120 long stay places to ensure those travelling to town for work have adequate parking. However, in line with discussions within the all-party off-street parking working group, priority in car parks closest to the main shopping areas is given to those accessing businesses and services. New Forest District Council, through the annual Shoppers Short Stay Clock, offers exceptional value parking. A resident making use of their Shoppers Clock for 3 hours parking once a week will in effect be paying an equivalent rate of less than 18 pence per hour to park. We are of course concerned that some of our residents are working for lower wages than any of us would want. Many of our lowest paid residents either do not have access to a private vehicle or choose a more sustainable option of public transport. The Office for National Statistics estimates that the average household in the third decile income group, an annual income of just over £16,500, spends £2,900 a year on motoring expenses. While no additional cost is welcomed by those on low wages, I do not believe that an equivalent cost of 46 pence per working day for a long stay parking clock will place an undue burden on those who can afford a car. This will end the unfair situation where Forest residents who can't afford to run a car are subsidising the cost of parking in Tottenham through their taxes, or for the benefit of those who can afford private transport.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rackham, do you have a supplementary?
I do, yes. Because this is such an issue for anyone working in the town centre and for the businesses, I just wondered what sort of consultation was undertaken by the portfolio holder before this decision was taken with businesses and residents.
Could I refer you back to Councillor Edward Heron?
Thank you.
Chairman, the parking order will go out for a period of consultation and we will consider the responses that are made to that.
Thank you very much. Question number 5 is from Councillor Mark Clark to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Barry Rickman. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 28th of August this year, the County Council Network released a report compiled by PwC suggesting that by scrapping all 213 lower tier councils to create unitary councils, it could deliver £3 billion worth of saving over 5 years and maximise the benefits of economic growth and housing policy. Our understanding is that ministers have signalled that they're likely to advocate fewer, larger authorities or possibly more elected mayors when they publish a paper on devolving power in the autumn. Does the leader agree with that CCN report and that this council should simply pack up and go home? Or is he willing to fight alongside the Liberal Democrats for a more local accountability, not less?
Councillor Rickman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark, for the question. I too await the white paper. The expected white paper on devolution and local recovery has been a very topical item over the summer. As Conservatives, our objective is always to do what is best for the community of the New Forest. If and when the government white paper is published, we would look at it very closely with the best interests of our community at the forefront of all our considerations. As for what we will concentrate in at this time, this extremely difficult time for many in our community, is ensuring that the District Council is both effective and efficient on our workings with partners and others in local government to deliver what is needed for our community, because after all, that's what matters.
Thank you, Councillor Rickman. Councillor Clark, do you have a supplementary?
Simply, Mr. Chairman, to ask whether some of the reports that were compiled back in 2016 about devolution, either to the county network or the local network, when that exercise took place in 2016, are they continuing to be relevant at this time, or for any when the white paper is produced?
I think
I'll get Councillor Barry Rickman to answer that one.
Yeah, no, it's a point well made, but I think now we must wait for the white paper.
Thank you very much. Question 6 from Councillor Mahmood Kangarani to the Portfolio Holder for Planning and Infrastructure, Councillor Edward Heron. Councillor Kangarani.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you, Mr. Edward. I think the part of my question was already raised. It's been answered by good yourself, but I probably can move on to my supplementary question, if that's okay with you. Is that okay?
That would be satisfactory, yes.
Okay, thank you. I think, does the portfolio holder now appreciate that failure to consult local businesses, we have interest and they have the unintended consequences? I have got the businesses in Tottenham which employ people myself, and I have got staff traveling from Romsey, others out of Southampton, and from Hythe, and they're already asking me maybe I have to increase their wages to compensate for the parking they have to pay. Given the pandemic situation and lack of customers at the moment, which is going to continue until January, February, maybe next year, extra costs will deter people coming to Tottenham, which is already underwhelmed by the lack of it. Thank you.
Yeah. I believe this question has already been answered, but I'll go back to Councillor Edward Heron to answer it.
Chairman, thank you. First, I would say that I would be concerned, as I'm sure all members would, that employers would be offering their employees wages that cause them concern at 46 pence per working day cost. And I hope that those employers would certainly consider whether they were paying a fair and equal wage. Chairman, the original question on the order paper did actually ask about the provision of long stay spaces, and I thought I should make clear that there are 120 long stay places remaining at the Westfield Road car park. That is a slightly longer walk, about just over 100 metres as crow flies, 120 metres walking to the Civic Centre car park. But I think Councillor Kangarani will remember from our discussions in the all-party working group, there was a clear steer from members that we should be prioritising spaces closest to the shops and services for those who are customers of the shops and services, and that actually it's not unreasonable to ask those employed in the businesses to walk a little bit further on their way to work, so that we have space for customers to access. But Chairman, as I said before, using a long stay parking clock, that actually equates to 46 pence per working day in increasing costs to employees, and I do hope most responsible employers are not paying wages at a level that would cause undue distress.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kangarani, you have had your supplementary.
Okay, yeah, I did have that. Just further.
Sorry, you've had your supplementary. Question 7 from Councillor Jack Davies to the portfolio holder for Environment and Regulatory Services, Councillor Alison Hall.
Good evening, councillors. This council previously committed a large sum of money to the quay redevelopment at Lymington. Is that money still committed for that project, despite it being currently suspended? And if so, how long?
Could I ask Councillor Alison Hall to respond?
Yes, thank you for the question. The project was rightly postponed because of COVID-19, just as we were starting to engage in the planning process that would have delivered a refurbished public conveniences and shower facility during 2021, as well as commencing improvements to the public realm of the area of Lymington Quay. Partners have recently got together and we're working up a scheme for an opening in March 2022. Obviously, the pandemic has required that the plans for the project were revisited, both due to lessons learnt from the pandemic, i.e. sort of reduced need for communal shower areas, and to make sure that whatever facility is built is, COVID okay. I don't know what the technical term is, but it's okay for COVID. Well, not okay for COVID. But So we've got the lessons learnt from the pandemic, reduced need for the communal areas for showers, as well as also the economic impact that all partners have experienced during this time. But I believe that all partners will very shortly be able to share details with the wider community of the project that will go forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hall. Councillor Davies, do you have a supplementary?
I do, yes. Will the public be consulted on the new plans that will be put forward for the Kiwi development?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, it all have to go through the proper planning process, but we engaged before, and I think it's only right that we engage this time round, because it's very important for Lymington. It's a very important project. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 8 from Councillor Anne Corbridge to the Portfolio Holder for Community Affairs, Councillor Diane Andrews. Councillor Corbridge.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is, in the event of a local lockdown for COVID-19, who will be the lead authority, and have central government funds been allocated to facilitate this?
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Diane Andrews to answer this one, please?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Corbridge. Firstly, in the event of a future lockdown, the responsibility would lie with the Director of Public Health at Hampshire County Council, although we, of course, would be involved. As for the funding of a lockdown, this is premature, thankfully, and we do not know what future funding would look like, but I presume that, like last time, the government would be allocating grants and more information would be forthcoming at that time. However, as the leader explained earlier, we have just received funding to provide COVID marshals for the next 4 months. I will be meeting with officers tomorrow morning to prepare for this initiative, and I'll have more information for councillors very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Corbridge, do you have a supplementary?
I don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that's an end of the questions. Agenda item 8, membership of committees and panels. Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no changes.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harrison.
Same on our side as well, Chairman. No changes.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 9. Any other items which the Chairman decides are urgent? The supplementary agenda includes an urgent item and report in relation to the seawall urgent works at Milford-on-Sea, Westover. Councillor Alison Hall, I understand that you would like to move the adoption of the recommendations as set out in the report, page 10 of the supplementary agenda. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I would like to propose that the Council supports the recommendations made at 8.1 and recommendations A, B and C. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jeremy Heron, I understand that you wish to second.
Happy to second that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Does any member wish to vote against?
Chairman, we've got some RTSs in, Chairman.
I beg your pardon, I've just got an RTS in. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. Clearly, we have a serious situation here that we have no plan for, that we need to address to prevent the damage, further damage to the sea wall around Milford. I asked the portfolio, does she now agree that this significant climate damage to our district, equating to 1.5 million to get it repaired completely at this juncture, is a sign that really you should have declared the climate emergency and looked at how serious the climate is starting to affect the New Forest and how great this will be in the future, and you need to review that particular point. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Councillor Hall, do you wish to comment on this?
I have never ever been a climate change denier, and I understand the serious problems. This council is continuing to work. All our actions all our new policies going forward have climate change and our carbon footprint as a major part of them. But I think, you know, if you look at the horrendous storms and the unusual storms that we've had there, it is definitely a warning sign for the future.
Thank you very much. Councillor David Harrison.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, it's a similar vein to Councillor Wade. I do support this recommendation, but I do think that it's a reminder just how vulnerable we are as a district authority to any changes along our coastline. And I do have this fear that we are addressing this issue in a kind of a piecemeal fashion. And I think most members would really benefit from a presentation from officers which details things like land ownership, the necessary protections that must be in place to protect our coastline, and indeed the consequences of not doing anything. There are some really serious issues to do with lack of government resource to address this issue, and I think that members better understand exactly where we are and where we may be in the future if we don't address this problem more seriously. But for now, I'm happy to support this one recommendation.
I've got several people wishing to speak, so if everybody's happy, I would like to take the people speaking, then ask Councillor Alison Hall, to respond to the debate. Thank you. So the next person I have is Councillor Edward Heron.
Chairman, thank you. And I find myself agreeing with much of what Councillor Wade and Harrison have said. Not all, but much of what they have said. Firstly, I do think we have to remember that we do have foreseen much of these problems, and we do have 2 shoreline management plans for this council that set out our proposals for where we will defend, where we unfortunately accept that we can't, and we have managed retreat. And so I would urge members to have a look at those. I have recognised it has been a while since perhaps they have been a top topic of discussion, although they did engender much debate when they were being produced. All I can say to Councillor Wade is I'm not certain that signing a declaration would have stopped a 60-year-old seawall from failing, but I admire his optimism.
Yeah. Thank you. My next participant is Councillor Jack Davis.
Hi. I'm just going to ask about the Milford, the works there. I've seen on social media there's been claims about the risk projection for Site 1. And apparently the report is costing roughly about £300,000. I just want clarification from the council about the situation at Site 1 and the potential loss of 12 metres of cliff face.
Councillor Alex Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. It is again merely on the more general point about how long-term all of us who have wards that that are onto the water and onto the coast probably share very similar concerns about the long-term issues regarding flooding and the impact obviously on coastal erosion. I think any information shared or understanding of who owns what land and who we can work with, and some maybe multi-agency approach for better understanding for local residents, councils and parish councils when viable would be much welcome. And I think if the council officers could look into that when possible, it would be welcomed by all councils, as it's an issue that affects any of us, let alone those of us with water on in our ward.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Councillor Matt Kangarani.
Yes, thank you. Actually, my question is regarding the funding of these projects, and I think there is anticipated to receive funding from the RFCC, and also the short will be funded by the council itself. That money is a part of the budget, or is it going to be used from the contingency money? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll leave that till the end, so as Councillor Hall can comment. I'll take Councillor Jeremy Heron first as a seconder. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah, I'll take Councillor Jeremy Heron first as a seconder for the motion, and then ask Councillor Alison Hall to respond. Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Chairman, I have little to say on the motion, but I will just pick up on the finances of this. At the moment, as you can see from the table set out within the report, we do not have a direct confirmation of funding, although we have a provision to look for funding from the Environment Agency. As such, that would then fall, the position would then reduce to a 400,000 fund fall on our reserves and our funding from within our capital programme. So at the moment, that's how we see it. There is an unresolved section of the financing waiting the decision of the EA. Whichever way the decision goes, we obviously hope very much that the EA will support this, but it is within the provisions of the council. Indeed, at a not too distant meeting of this, we reported back that we had maintained our reserves for this council, and I believe the Liberal Democrats suggested that we dispose of at least half of that reserves on various projects that they try to think up to spend them. Perhaps they are now pleased that the Conservatives are more prudent than that and have held on to those reserves, so that if the funding does not come through, we will still be in a position to meet those costs. Thank you.
Thank you. I've just had advice that Councillor Edward Heron would like to declare an interest.
Chairman, apologies, I should at the beginning of the item. I need to declare a personal but non-pecuniary interest as a member of the Southern Regional Flood and Coastal Committee. I do not believe that interest prevents me speaking as I have or voting.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hall, do you wish to respond to the debate?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, to the point, I think I forget who made it by David Harris, Councillor Harrison, I think. We are actually working with the Environment Agency on a plan from sea defences from Hurst to Lymington, and with Christchurch for Christchurch Bay through to Milford. The works that we're doing at the moment are urgent works, because if we don't secure the White House, not only will people lose their homes, but it will have a domino effect, and it will have a very detrimental effect on Milford. We are at this moment we are only doing the urgent works, but we have secured £250,000 grant money to plan for phase 2, which we hope to get done as soon as we possibly can. But I would be very grateful if everybody could support the recommendations at 8.1. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I will now take it to the vote. Members, the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Does any member wish to vote against? I see no one wishing to speak, therefore accept that this vote has been accepted. Thank you very much indeed. This concludes the business of the council meeting. Thank you very much for attending. I declare this meeting closed.